less than 1 month ago, I started this very little crazy project with Adrian Tuareg. And now, today, after less than 1 month, Quincy Larson, the teacher, co-founder of FreeCodeCamp, is here. That's incredible. I'm happy and shocked at the same time. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest, but he smiles, so this is really good for me. How are you, Quincy?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
only
so.
a month in.
Yeah.
You've interviewed a lot of people in that short period of
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So
kind of lot.
kudos.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can put the journalist title in my CV now. Yeah, yeah. So you had a podcast last year in December 2019, which was about, of course, FreeCodeCamp and also your story. So I'll start from there, and I'd like you, if you want, to make a quick recap about the story of FreeCodeCamp. And also, can you tell us a moment that you remember that has been really important for this project, this very good project, great project?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for your kind words. Yeah, so thank you. And also thank you for listening to the 2-hour interview that Jeff Meyerson from Software Engineering Daily did with me. I'd been on his show a couple times before, but he really wanted to go deep into the history of FreeCodeCamp. And I think I go into way more detail on that than I've ever gone on any other podcast. And I've done a lot of in-depth podcasts with like indie hackers and changelog and places like that. So I would definitely recommend, if you're really curious about me and my personal background, take a look at that. I'm just one person out of a giant community of people who are making FreeCodeCamp possible. So just keep that in mind. I'm not nearly as important as you might think. I'm just basically, my role is coordination and making sure that I help people help people. But a little bit about the history of FreeCodeCamp. So if you are unfamiliar with FreeCodeCamp, we're a donor-supported nonprofit, a 501c3, the same tax designation as like Doctors Without Borders or the YMCA. And you can go to freecodecamp.org. We have around 3,000 hour curriculum that's completely free, and you can learn, you'll start learning front-end web development, then you'll do like APIs and back-end development. Then you'll learn some scientific computing and data science. You'll learn some machine learning, and you'll learn some information security, all in one very comprehensive linear curriculum that takes a huge amount of time. It's the equivalent of like getting an associate's degree in terms of the amount of time that it will take you to complete it. But everything's self-paced, and you can skip straight to the certifications if you don't want to go through the lessons, and if you just want to get a certification for something you already know fairly well. But basically, the history of FreeCodeCamp is around 20. So I started coding in 2011, like the very end of 2011. I was just like, I installed Linux, and I started learning some basic Python and doing like a lot of Project Euler problems in Python. And that was kind of my entree into software development, was just trying to learn Python really well and reading a lot of books. And I did like some free online courses through like MIT and Stanford. And it was a long process. And I spent about 8 months just studying full time. I quit my job and just studied. And it still took me about 8 months of going to hackathons every weekend and doing all this before I was able to get a job as a software engineer. But so I was like 30, I think I was 31 and maybe 32. No, I was 31, and I was going into a job, and I was like the most junior person on the team. And there were people who were older than me in like their 40s and stuff, but for the most part, I was older than the average person on the team. And so it was kind of a humbling experience, but I learned a tremendous amount, and I just kind of checked my ego. And when I got out, I thought, like, I want to create tools that help other people do something like this. I want them to be able to transition into software development mid-career like I had. Up to age 31, my only real experience was working I worked as a journalist for a few years, but I also worked as a teacher and a school director. And I was running schools in the US and in China, which is completely unrelated to programming. So a lot of people ask like how much programming I did as a kid. None. Like, I didn't even know how to configure a Wi-Fi router. My wife would do that for me because I would just get frustrated and couldn't follow the instructions properly. So it was a big leap from not being able to configure Wi-Fi to, eventually creating a bunch of projects, and some of them much more complicated than FreeCodeCamp, and then ultimately creating FreeCodeCamp after those projects failed, just a simple project, and that grew. And so the story with FreeCodeCamp, a very abridged one for you, Francesco, and your audience. We started off just recommending learning resources from Stanford and MIT and a lot of these massive open online courses, and some free textbooks and things like that. And then gradually people in the community started helping build out an interactive curriculum. And so we had our own first party curriculum. And then people started getting jobs as developers after going through the curriculum. And that was really good because that was a proof of concept that
that's good.
It was a proven path to getting a developer job. And then many of those people who graduated, we got tax exempt status about 2 years into it. And people were able to start donating to FreeCodeCamp and even deducting it from their taxes. So over the years, just some big high level numbers. We've had more than 40,000 people, according to our LinkedIn alumni network, more than 40,000 people who got a job as a software engineer after earning a FreeCodeCamp certification. So we consider you a graduate if you've earned a certification and got the job. That's just people who've put FreeCodeCamp on their LinkedIn. So it could be, a lot more than that. But those are people we know that got a job thanks in part to their FreeCodeCamp experience. And then we now have more than 6,000 people who donate to FreeCodeCamp each month. So we're completely donor supported, and people just give small $5 a month donations. And when you multiply $5 a month times 6,000 people, you get enough budget that you can actually have, pay for servers, and you can have a small team and all that. So that's how we're sustained. So yeah, that's basically FreeCodeCamp in a nutshell, is people going through the curriculum. And then we have a YouTube channel. We have a publication where we publish lots of tutorials. We have a forum where you can get programming help, get feedback on your projects and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that yes, this model is really so interesting because it's simple. I like the idea that it's simple and it's working, which are two things that are really important for a project to be successful. I think, yeah, because you help people. They have a problem, they need a job. You help them to get that, and then the donations. They come. Yeah, that's easy to say like that, but yeah, it's really incredible project. Yeah, so, and yeah, thank you so much. Yes, I've listened to all the podcasts, but that podcast is of 2019, so it was before all the things that we had this year. I don't know if there was something in the air, but I don't. None of us they could know about what would happen in 2020. Now we know that. So how has been the 2020 for FreeCodeCamp, and how for example, all the COVID situation, the working from remote, because I think that is impacted a lot on this project.
Yeah, absolutely. So before the COVID-19 pandemic, we had lots of study groups around the world where people would get together in cafes and libraries, and they would code together. And I think in-person education is very important. And so unfortunately, people aren't able to do that anymore right now, except in like South Korea and Australia and places like that. They're still able to do that because their governments have done a much better job of handling the pandemic than, say, the US government, which has arguably done the worst job considering the resources it has at its disposal. So many people lost their jobs, of course, unfortunately, like especially if they were working in like retail or jobs that tourism related jobs where being physically present in a building is critical. You can't make that remote. So that was really sad. But I mean, if there's a silver lining, it's that a lot of people have had time to reevaluate what they want to do with their careers, and many of them want to go in a more technical direction with their careers, and they want to learn about data science. They want to learn about web development. They want to learn about information security, game development, and a lot of these other skills that FreeCodeCamp teaches. So we've had a lot of additional interest and a lot more people using FreeCodeCamp as a result. Yeah. I'd say on a balance, it's been profoundly negative. I mean, what used to be a seller's market, if you had developer skills, you could easily go out and get a developer job, even not easily as a junior. You still had to apply to a lot of places, but that's just because the employment system and, it's companies are very risk averse and they don't want to take a chance on somebody who isn't proven. So it's very hard to get that first job. But once you've gotten the first job, I think subsequent jobs are much easier to get than in a lot of professions. And there are a lot of jobs because everybody's moving. Everything's being pushed to the software layer. And we're figuring out ways to take entire industries and turn them into software, essentially. So there's tremendous demand for software engineers, and it's going to continue to grow. Anybody who's worried about automation, and like I frequently hear non-developers say things like, oh, coding, soon there will just be AIs that code. And I ask, well, who do you think is coding those AIs? Software development itself is the process of automating things. And so by definition, it will be the last thing that gets fully automated. That's what I would argue. So I wouldn't worry about the future prospects for software development. The main thing is just like the immediate effects of having a whole lot of people who are pretty high skilled suddenly be unemployed. It means that it's going to be harder for newer people to get into the field immediately. It's going to be more of an uphill struggle. So that's been one of the big upshots of the COVID-19 pandemic, is that it's going to be harder for a lot of people to get that first job.
Yeah. I hope that the next year will be better. I was so optimistic about this year at the end of 2019. Now I'm a little less optimistic, but still a little bit. Yeah, and I interviewed already a lot of people, and they started to do something during the pandemic. So they started the YouTube channel. It's not my case, but for example, in my case, I started using Twitter more, for example, but a lot of people, they used that time to do something, to learn new skills. So I don't know if you have noticed an improvement during this year, because I don't remember, for example, now your YouTube channel has like almost 3 million subscribers. I don't have either 1,000, so so I can't remember which was the numbers of the last year and of this year, for example, for the YouTube channel, the difference, the increase. I think it's increased a lot.
Well, anybody out there who has tried to get a YouTube channel going, it's a lot harder to go from 0 to 10,000 than it is to go from 10,000 to 100,000. And so that's just kind of like the fundamental bootstrapping challenges of getting a channel going. But yeah, we have had a lot of additional, like, part of it is we're getting really efficient at creating free, very long courses that are in depth and figuring out what topics people want to learn about. Like, for example, today we published a full, I think it's like 12-hour course on linear algebra.
Yeah, I've watched. I've seen
is
that.
It linear algebra or vector? Yeah, it's something like that. I need to double check. We have courses on pretty much all of the major mathematical topics in the works. We also published, I think a week or two ago, a course on Microsoft Excel. And we're going to be publishing increasingly complicated courses on, you can do a lot of data science in Excel. It's a really powerful tool. Spreadsheets are powerful. So we're kind of expanding to not just cover Python and JavaScript, which is what we've traditionally focused on. That's where most of the jobs are, in my humble opinion, as a developer, in the Python ecosystem and the JavaScript ecosystem. But we're kind of expanding, and we're going to be covering a lot more. So, and now we're ramped up to like creating like publishing 3 full-length courses a week. So some of the growth of our YouTube channel is attributed to people just having more time to spend on YouTube. But some of it may also be because we're publishing a wider range of topics, and it's like people who wouldn't necessarily have cared about JavaScript or Python do care about, calculus, because they have a calculus course and they're like, oh, calculus, what's this channel? Oh, wow, they have a lot of courses on a lot of technical topics. So that's kind of, I think it's just, we've kind of increased the number of on-ramps to the FreeCodeCamp community that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for example, I have a computer science degree, and maybe I needed this kind of courses maybe some years ago. Now it's a bit late for me, but maybe they can be useful to someone else. And also, I think that one thing that I like about freeCodeCamp, honestly, not because we are here, is that it has a so high quality video. All the video, all the stuff, it's always high quality. So after a while, for example, I've also checked the algebra video course. You the expect maybe the expectation is a bit high of the people, so maybe it's hard. I don't know sometimes to keep this level so high. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that you are creating this kind of trust in the people. If I see one videos from one video on one topic, I'm sure that this will be high level quality. Do you agree with this?
Thank you. That quality is much more important than quantity. It's so much more important than quantity. And I always tell people are like, oh, I'm doing this challenge where like I write one blog post every day for 100 days and things like that. I tell them, well, why don't you just slow down and just publish your blog posts when they're done? I mean, when you're first getting started, it's a great way to kickstart the process and just do a whole lot of quantity. And quantity, there's a saying that quantity has a quality all to its own. But I think after you've gotten kind of into the groove and you've gotten a rhythm, then it's better to slow down and really just focus on in a lot of the YouTube channels I personally watch only publish like once every few months. A lot of the podcasts I listen to publish infrequently as well. It's fine. I think it's much better to be respectful of people's time and just optimize for quality than trying to just turn out a whole lot of quantity. And quantity can get reward because in aggregate, you're going to get more social feedback. Like more people are going to be tweeting, more people are going to be sharing on Facebook or, liking your videos or watching your videos if you have a ton of videos. But if you are able to slow down and focus on quality, eventually you'll build momentum around that quality. If that makes sense.
I totally agree with this.
Some content.
I totally agree with this. This is not my case in this exact period because I need to bootstrap this YouTube channel a little bit. So I'm posting one video per day for 100 days. I don't know if you watched the challenge video.
I'm aware
Did you watch that?
Yes, it's a very aggressive timetable, and I please don't burn out. I couldn't do that.
Okay, some people already told that, but no. But the secret is that I really like to talk to people. Yeah, I come from the sport world. I like to talk to people in person. So this is maybe the closest thing that I can do. I can also practice a little bit my English, which is not really good. I hope that you can understand me. Yeah, and I also like the accent of America and Texas. I've interviewed other people from there. I understand perfectly your accent. But what you say is totally true. So don't mind me. I'm just a little YouTube channel. I had this strange idea, so I'm doing like this. But what you are doing on your YouTube channel is totally different. I think that in the long time, in the long term, I'll switch a little bit. I need to relax a little bit. Sorry for that, but in the future, don't expect to do me like that. But thank you so much.
If you sorry to interrupt, but if you view these interviews as practice for eventually becoming like a very prolific and capable interviewer, then quantity does help for sure. And so in many ways, I think you're going about this the right way.
I think in the beginning it can really help to grow a YouTube channel from zero, which is basically I published my first video on the 7th of August. So this is kind of new. Yes, and I really need that T-shirt. I need to know how to get there. I don't know.
Absolutely.
You have a shop somewhere.
And I've actually got 5 of these shirts, and I just wear one every day, so I don't have to think about what to wear. If you go to youtube.com/freeCodeCamp and you just click on one of our videos, there's like a little merchandise slider underneath. It's like a little gallery. We've got like shirts, we've got hats, we've got mugs. We even got like a face mask that you can wear when you're in public. And it's like 2 layers, so it's pretty good at blocking particles. There are a lot of things that we sell there on YouTube. And the reason we do that is because it's quick and it's automated. Like we just use Teespring, which integrates with YouTube.
Yeah.
But any proceeds that we make over the cost of the goods sold will go toward freeCodeCamp and making freeCodeCamp better. So if anything there seems like really expensive, if you're like, oh, I can't afford $25 for a shirt or something like that, you can just take that logo and we have the logo on, as long as you're not going to mass produce it. If you're just going to go like screen print a single shirt for yourself or a few shirts for yourself, that's fine too. Just go to, just look up freeCodeCamp assets repo and we've got all the SVGs in there.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. So, can we talk about the future plans? So, for example, let's not get too much far because we don't really know the future now. So let's take just one year at a time. Maybe it will be better 1 month or 1 week at a time. But what are your plans for 2021?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hang on 1 second. So 2021, our goal is to do more of what we're doing. But I'm also optimistic by 2021, there will be large-scale rollout of a vaccine, several vaccines for COVID-19, and that toward the end of 2021, enough people will be vaccinated that we'll be able to start having more in-person events. So one of the big things we're working on right now is a tool called Chapter, and it is an open source, self-hosted meetup.com alternative for nonprofits. So if you have a multi-chapter nonprofit, like let's say you are the Sierra Club and you want to have like bike races or bike rides or something like that, you can do that. You could just clone the repo and deploy it at, for example, chapter.sierraclub.org or something like that. And then people would be able to go there and you could have lots of different cities where you have chapters and all that, and then they could participate in events, and it's got the email notifications, authentication, all that stuff. So it will be a very convenient way for an organization like Sierra Club or like Women Who Code or like freeCodeCamp to not have to pay meetup.com a whole lot of money each month, because currently it costs $20 per meetup. And they were experimenting with this pricing. The reason we started this whole thing was they were going to start charging a $2 ticket charge for any RSVP. And that would have cost freeCodeCamp, even though freeCodeCamp events are free for the most part. I think almost all of them are free. You would still need to pay $2 to meetup.com to be able to RSVP for the events, which was absurd. And of course, we pushed back on this, and the whole community came together and Meetup like backed away from this pricing skit. But it really set into motion the chapter project. So one of the big things we're going to do for 2021 is do some dry runs, probably in Australia and South Korea and China and other countries that have like eliminated the virus for the most part. Senegal is another good example, and have people get together and have study groups there using the software. So that's one of the tools we're very excited about. Another big thing that we're working on, Devdocs Io, is a documentation site that Thibault he works at Shopify, but he's been building this project for many years. And about a year ago, he donated the project to freeCodeCamp. So we've been working on making that faster and updating all the documentation and everything. And we're very excited that we have Devdocs.io, which is a very fast, lightweight website where anybody can get documentation for hundreds of different projects, everything from like the core JavaScript, ECMAScript documentation all the way down to like very specific niche, versions of .NET and old versions of AngularJS and stuff like that, right? So it is, we're very excited to be focused on that as well. And those are just kind of like the projects that we're working on outside of the core freeCodeCamp curriculum, which is coming along very well. We already have about 3,000 hours worth of coursework that we've created, and we're planning to start working on a math curriculum that's based off of like Carnegie Mellon and MIT and Stanford. Basically, what kind of math would you learn if you were going to get an undergraduate computer science or electrical engineering degree at one of these schools? Well, we can try to teach that math interactively on freeCodeCamp. So people who people who think they quote unquote suck at math or have otherwise just forgotten math because it's been so many years since they've used a lot of this math, they'll be able to learn this mathematics and they'll be able to write extremely efficient solutions to like algorithm problems and stuff during interviews as well. It doesn't hurt to know math. You don't necessarily have to know a lot of advanced math, although for your job at the European Union's space program, you may use a lot more advanced math than a lot of people do.
And I also not, I don't know, as you said, a lot of developers, maybe they don't like math. That's not my case because I really like math. I was thinking about doing math instead of computer science. But in my case, I think that I'll watch them all because I'm really interested into that. So thank you for that because, for example, in my case, it's interesting. I think that it depends on the person. You can be a very, very good web developer without knowing math. I think, but for example, in my case, I'm honestly interested into that. For example, so thank you for saying this because you released so many things. For example, I didn't know about this. We will put the link in the description of this. What's the name? Devdocs.
Devdocs.io. Dev DEVDOCS. Docs.
We'll put the link in the description. I've learned to say this. In the first videos, I don't say this at all. Now I'm getting a little bit better. And also you were a journalist, so now my anxiety it's way more now because I need to know something about that because I know nothing about that. I don't know if you have something about that. So
I studied journalism as an undergraduate, and I worked as a journalist for a couple of years. Then I moved to China, and I did a graduate degree in China, and I worked in Chinese companies like as a translator and interpreter and doing some other things like that over there and teaching. Like I've basically been teaching the entire time. But I can tell you a little about my journalism experience. So a lot of it was just covering, like working for local newspapers and covering local news and interviewing people and like analyzing budgets and analyzing a lot of documents and trying to translate that complexity into a simple, easy to read document. And if you look at like freeCodeCamp's publication, I've written, I think more than 500 articles on there. And almost all of them are just trying to take something that's big and scary and complicated and make it more accessible and put like a headline that like reassures people, oh, I can understand this. This isn't going to be an academic paper. This is going to be a quick, breezy read that is written at like a 6th grade level where anybody can understand it.
Yeah, I think that this is the essence of a content creator, to make things more simpler, because we have already a lot of books, a lot of resources, but to make them simple, it's another story. I think that sometimes it's basically what the content creators they try to do in their videos with all their effort. Sometimes it's hard to do this kind of stuff. It's not that easy to make things simple. Yeah, this can be a quote. I'll put that somewhere. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Einstein has a very good quote that I often quote. He says, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it very well yourself. And I would argue that's definitely the truth. And one of the best ways to expand your own understanding of a topic is to try to teach it. That's why I encourage everybody, if you want to get practice explaining programming, like, of course, you can write blogs and do things like that. That's a great way to do it. Another way, of course, is if you just hang out on the FreeCodeCamp forum, which is a very inclusive, friendly place. I would say it's like Stack Overflow, but way friendlier and less intimidating. You can just answer people's questions. You can ask questions of your own. And you can give people feedback on their projects and things like that. And just by kind of going through that dialogue, that process of working with somebody and helping them understand a topic, like you yourself, you're solidifying your own learning.
Yeah, thank you. And now a little bit strange question. Why do you think that FreeCodeCamp is so successful? I don't know if you have an answer to this.
Yeah. Well, I have a few theories. One, I think that You know, of course, I'm very lucky. A lot of people think I'm like particularly smart or something like that, but I don't think I'm like, you know, above average intelligence or capability or anything like that. But I will say that I was very lucky and I had a lot of privilege. I grew up in America with an American passport, native English speaker. I was able to go to university. I went to an inexpensive state university. I don't have student debt. And I was, you know, born at a time when the internet was taking off. Like when I was, I think 13 was the first time I got on the internet, and it was just amazing for me. And I started learning immediately on the internet. Now I didn't get into coding, unfortunately. I wish I'd gotten into coding back then, because I'd be a lot better at it than I am now. But of course, you know, to have the luxury of having a computer in my house, of having an internet connection, all those things, very lucky. And then being able to study abroad, spend 6 years in China, just working and learning about a different culture and all that, and watching that transformation of a country where, you know, hundreds of millions of people were basically doing subsistence agriculture. And then increasingly they were able to move into like service sector jobs and manufacturing sector jobs and witness that economic transformation. That was very inspiring for me as well, because I started to realize how good I had it as an American. And I think a lot of my peers back in the United States, even if they're just, you know, middle-class white kids like me, I don't think they understood just how good they had it and how little they really needed to worry about. And so I think that like I was moving forward in my career after working as a school director and learning the code and all that. 2014 was a great time to teach coding, because it was really like we're heading into like a 5-year boom. And like that was right around the time that all the biggest companies in the world, you know, it was mostly just oil companies when I started, and now it's all tech companies, right? So it was like this huge transformation from energy being like the core of the US economy to tech being the core. And so I was in the right place at the right time. And freeCodeCamp being free, of course, meant that people all over the world could use it. It meant that there were no barriers to entry. You didn't even need to sign in. You still don't need to sign in to access all of freeCodeCamp. You can go through the entire curriculum without ever signing in. It won't track your progress. So we made it really accessible and really easy. And then, you know, my friend Eric was doing the Odin project, which is a really cool project. He's not doing it anymore. It got sold to my other friend, Daryl, who runs Thinkful. But it's still, you know, like I was able to see what he was doing and kind of learn from what he was doing and hang out with him. I hung out with him all the time. So that was really helpful as well. I was right in Silicon Valley. I'd like moved there specifically to try to create like an education-based nonprofit, and try to get traction around an open source project. So yeah, I was in the right place at the right time with the right degree of privilege, and it all worked.
Let me say that I think that you've worked a little bit. Let me say this, at least, because I suppose that sometimes it's hard to also to figure out how much work there is behind, and also by trying to provide something for free, it's even harder, especially in the beginning. So yeah, and now we have another question. It's really important for me. How can we actually, which is the best way to support freeCodeCamp? Because I think that what you are doing is good, and I think that we need to support something that is good. Which is the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have money to spare, donating to freeCodeCamp is a great way to support us. You can just go to freecodecamp.org/donate, and you can set up a monthly donation to freeCodeCamp, and that is a huge help for us, because like our entire organization, basically we pay for servers and team and like legal expenses, like all those different little expenses that come up as a nonprofit. We cover all that with donations, and you know, to be able to have a budget and be able to predict all that, that's very helpful. So if you have even, you know, $10 a month that you can spare, going to freeCodeCamp and donating to us would be a huge help. If you don't have a lot of money, but you do have time, going to the forum and answering questions and helping people and supporting people, giving people feedback on their projects. That would be very helpful. If you have a lot of developer capabilities and you're just like a seasoned developer who wants to jump in and help a relatively mature open source project, we have a ton of GitHub issues that are open. And we also, of course, if you want to write technical articles, you can do that as well. We do have a publication that gets about as much traffic as like TechCrunch or Wired or some of these big publications, and it's just programming tutorials, right? So that would be a great way to help out, and we'll edit your articles and we'll give you feedback and coach you on like which topics people are like looking for and things like that. So if you want to write, the best place to go is just contribute.freecodecamp.org, and it has all this information. But there are many, many ways you can get involved. And once the pandemic is over, and we've all got, vaccines in our arms and we're all like cool to go out and not have to worry about the virus, we're absolutely going to start a lot more study groups all over the world. We had 2,000 at our peak before the virus, and I think we'll get back up to that. Yeah. And we need people to lead those.
Yeah, I'm from Italy. I don't know if there is something here. I'd be glad to help you when this will be over. If I can help you in any way, I'm from Rome. So if I can help you in any way, I'll check that because I'm really interested into that. Now that I'm basically a journalist, I can interact with a lot of people. I can organize meetups. So yeah, in a year, I think that I'll also get a little bit better. So I'll be prepared to organize this sort of things. I'll be really happy about that. I don't know. We need to wait, I think, a little bit before. And then, I also, I love your idea that you work on internet, but you also like the connection in person with people. So you're working on both sides. So I really love this idea, this style. So, and also I think that by answering to questions, you also get better. It's not that you are helping FreeCodeCamp, but also if you get better, if you become an expert in a field, you can also get jobs, you get paid for that. So this is not just to help FreeCodeCamp, but it can also be useful for yourself. So do that, please.
And I'll tell you, if you have a lot of money, support your local hackerspace. Those hackerspaces are going through a hard time right now. And many of them, of course, are like, they have to pay their rent. They have to do things like a hackerspace, a makerspace, because those places are going to be generally where a lot of FreeCodeCamp events are held, like libraries and hackerspaces and places like that. So that's another important thing. And that, like, for me, I would not be a developer without the benefit of hackerspaces. I spend so much time in hackerspaces just hanging out with my peers, like learning and coding together.
Thank you so much. So and now a question about your newsletter, because I think I've subscribed to a newsletter. I don't know if that's actually the FreeCodeCamp one or just your newsletter. Or is there only one?
There's only my newsletter. Yeah, FreeCodeCamp doesn't send any emails except for like authentication and stuff like that. Like the forum sends like a digest, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
so I send just about my email blast every week. I'm sending one tonight. I take 5 articles that have been published in the FreeCodeCamp publication. Usually, like, several of them will be full-length YouTube videos, but I have like an article version that kind of summarizes what you learn if you want to watch it. If you don't want to, you can just read the article and say, oh, I don't want to spend 12 hours learning this, and just close the tab and move on with your life. But yeah, every week I send out an email with 5 links that I think are worth your time. Mostly just supplementary resources on different programming and mathematical topics.
Yeah, and also like the idea that you just put 5 and not like 100 links, because otherwise people, they can be a little bit scared to open that the second time. So I think that 5 is the perfect number to do that. That maybe, okay, I can check this. It's like the front page of a newspaper, maybe. So I think that's the perfect number to maybe see if you are interested into something. Yeah, it happened more than one time that from that mail I can just click and go there, and then let's see it. So yeah, if there were too many links, I don't know, maybe it would be hard to open, because sometimes there is a lot of information. Now we have this problem that we have so many things. There is a lot of content, but I think that on freeCodeCamp you can find the content. It's really well formatted. So yeah, so that's it.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm glad that you're finding those helpful. And I'll keep sending those. If anybody wants to sign up for that, by the way, just when you create a freeCodeCamp account, there, like it'll give you like an explanation of what freeCodeCamp is, and then it'll say, hey, do you want to get Quincy's email newsletter? And if you click yes, then each Friday I'll send 5 links.
Yeah, thank you. And I've listened to the podcast, and now I have a question about the if you have any improvement. Have you done some improvement on your mobile applications, or
Yes,
still
very good question.
On?
So we have refined the mobile experience on freeCodeCamp, but we don't actually have a mobile, like a pure like native mobile app yet. What we're probably going to do is, instead of trying to teach coding in a mobile environment, which is hard, we have mobile web, and you can learn to code there, like in terms of like interactively inputting code and all that. What we'll probably do is just have the mobile app be like a reader for the tutorials. So you can read tutorials and you can like watch videos and things like that. In terms of actually coding, it really is nice to have a proper operating system and like a file system and a keyboard and a bigger screen, so you can actually edit the code with it. Like trying to edit code on the touch screen is pretty difficult. Now, I will say, if you want to learn on your mobile phone, there's some really good mobile apps. One is Solo Learn, which is pretty good. I think it's free still. And Grasshopper, which is created by like a FreeCodeCamp contributor who works at Google. It's a really cool app. It's more aimed at kids, but it's fun, and it is very much you can very much code on your phone.
Thank you for this. And now I have an idea, because for example, I know Florin Pop since months for now. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but
of course.
And I've seen that he has done live streaming, and he recorded himself by doing this FreeCodeCamp, the front end part, I think. The HTML, the first part.
He did the first 6 certifications.
Yeah. And so now I'm getting interested into that. I don't know if I'll do that. I'd like to do that. I don't know if you suggest me to do that, but not just for me, but for example, this could actually be an idea, because I have so many people, some developers, that now I'm trying to help them to create YouTube channels, because since I'm started, now I want to help them to get started with creating some very small YouTube channels. So do you think that this could be actually a good idea to just record yourself while doing this FreeCodeCamp certifications? You also get the certifications in the end. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of work to go through the curriculum, but if you have a little more experience coding, you can just skip straight to the certifications and just do the 5 certification projects at the end of each certification. So you could get through the entire curriculum just by building 50 projects, right? You could just completely ignore the lessons and just jump straight to the projects. And when necessary, you could reference the lessons or reference, MDN or whatever resources you want to use. It can be done. Florin did it all in, I think, 29 days, which is the record. He's the world record holder.
I can't beat him. I already know that.
Speed run of FreeCodeCamp. You might be able to beat him. I mean, he only did it like 4 or 5 hours a day. So yeah, it depends on your time availability. But I have no doubt somebody watching this video could be the next person to dethrone Florin Pop and get it like slightly faster.
Let's do that. Yeah. And I think that I don't know when, maybe when this challenge will end, or maybe during this challenge. I don't know. Still don't know. But I think that I'll do what I did with this kind of videos. So I'll try one. If this get traction, if they like that, I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll say, okay, bye. I at least I tried. So I this is in my mind that I want to experiment this. This could be an idea. And I will see. This could also be, an idea for example, because I think that there are many developers, they have this empty YouTube channel. They don't know what to do. What should they do? So why don't just start by recording yourself? Also, you can interact with other people. Yeah, so I think that I'll give it a try. I can't promise you that I'll finish them because, but I think that I'll try. I'll try one time. I've never done a live streaming from now.
Yeah, well, I think live streaming is cool. And I'll tell you why. Like, you have an audience potentially, even if it's just like one or two people, and they can often help encourage you, or they can say, oh, you forgot that semicolon, or oh, I recommend using this data structure here, you know, this design pattern here, you know. So it can really be helpful to have people watching you, and it's inspiring. Like it keeps you going forward, and you're not going to say like, oh, I'm going to check Twitter or whatever if you've got like 10 people watching, right? So it's a way of providing extrinsic motivation for yourself as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can take the Twitter VODs and you can edit them together, and you can create more intense YouTube videos of yourself. So, you know, Twitch can be like a really good place to start. And then you export that, and then you edit that together, and then you get a more polished YouTube video.
Yeah, and I think that Floating Pop is really great at making live streams. I've been there sometimes, because sometimes I like, for example, to walk outside, and sometimes I follow his live streams with my phone in my hand. I root for him. It's really it's really a great developer, funny, knowledgeable. Yeah, it's really incredible. Yeah.
I will tell you one thing, like, so Florin Pop, you know, I hope he doesn't mind me telling you this. He and I talk all the time. He's a really inspiring guy, very creative. He's not that great at math, and I encouraged him many times, like, please try the Project Euler 100 challenge, right? So back in January, we got this challenge going where the goal is to finish the first 100 Project Euler problems, and they're, you know, 650 total. So these are like the easier ones, but they're still pretty hard. And since you're interested in math, a lot of times programming capability isn't the bottleneck, it's math knowledge. So you may be very well suited to solve these. And so you could just use Python or JavaScript and basically go through and try to solve all 100 of the first Project Euler problems live on stream. I think that'd be really cool. And nobody has done that yet. People have gotten to like 75 or something, but nobody's done 100.
I'm getting interested into that. Please let me think about that a little bit. Yeah, and also I don't know if you know that this whole YouTube channel, the credit goes to also Florin Pop and other people, but Florin Pop, he pushed me to begin to making videos. I've tried to making videos like for 10 years. He came at me with a strange idea to run for charity, and now I got this idea to make this kind of videos. So this is why we are here. So yeah.
yeah. Well, if you decide to do the you know, Project Euler 100, and you get serious about it and do like the first 20 or so, and then you're like, I want to go on freeCodeCamp's channel and do it. Like we do have developers, like Florin Pop is streamed on freeCodeCamp's channel. We have a lot of other people that stream. So that's definitely something. And it's not just you, Francesco, but other people who are watching who are really serious about, you know, doing live coding. Let us know. Once you've established, like once you've done like 100 hours or so of live coding and you feel confident in your like AV setup and your way of interacting with the audience and all that stuff, come over to freeCodeCamp and you can live stream there too. Just reach out if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah, I'm already interested into that. Thank you. There are so many things to do. We just need to prioritize them because we have so many things to do, to watch. Sometimes also it's hard for me to follow all my friends, all their content, to follow Florin Pop on their live streams, to watch all their freeCodeCamp videos.
Sorry to interrupt you. Tell us a little bit more about what you do day to day. Like, so, I mean, working at a space based administration, it's like kind of the European equivalent of NASA, basically, right?
Yeah, I worked with programmers of NASA. They are kind of good developers, let's say. But this is a really great project. The Copernicus project, we work with satellites, the Earth observation, basically. We download files and we put them on the internet. This is very poorly explained.
Copernicus, you said is the name of the project?
What?
You said the project is called Copernicus?
Yeah.
The mathematician?
Yeah, the Copernicus project, yeah. One of our problems is the amount of data. Like we think in petabytes. It's really hard to move databases. Sometimes it's really hard because yes, each picture of satellites is like 8 gigabytes. And it's like 1,000 per day. So yeah, something like that. I don't know
Wow.
the exact number, but yeah, it's very good.
So you're doing the real big data, like the. I mean, I've heard that like CERN and some of these places, like they generate so much data that there's just not enough storage to store it, and you have to like analyze it kind of as it streams in, and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah, and also there is a problem because sometimes on some old servers we have this problem that we have the file system just have the 5 gigabytes limit. So one file need to be fragmented in different parts. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard, yeah, but it's very interesting project. Always growing. It's cool. It's cool. Let's admit it, but yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
really, really great.
If you ever get a chance, like one thing we'd be very interested in is if you ever get a chance to like, if you get approval, I'm sure that you have to get approval on all that stuff, but like a kind of a day in the life of the work you do. That would be very interesting for somebody like me who, like the biggest files we work with, freeCodeCamp has, several million user records and solutions and stuff like that, but it's nothing compared to what you're doing. Like our database is, less than 100 gigabytes, I think. So I'd be very interested in seeing somebody who does data engineering on that scale.
Yeah, let's see. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you really, because this has been really interesting for me, because I've listened to the podcast. So this is like the evolution, the part 2 of that very, very good podcast. I'm not as good as the speaker of that podcast. I really invite him. I don't know his name, but he's really, it has been great. I'm trying to be like him, but I can't do that. Sorry for that. Yeah, so, and just one last question, Quincy.
Sure.
What can we say to some developers that they feel a little bit lost? Because, for example, in my case, I still have my direct messages open on Twitter. I want to leave them like that, but sometimes I get wow, that's incredible. Yeah,
I'm just gonna go over here. My daughter
is
playing piano. Just gives the audience a little bit of a change, other than looking at my face all the time. She loves playing piano and she's learning. So your question, what can we say to people who are discouraged?
What can we say to them?
I will say this. I think any sufficiently motivated person can learn to code. It's not a question of like innate capability. I don't believe that people on like the African savannas 100,000 years ago had like brains that were like perfect for programming and they just didn't have a computer to work with or something like that. I think like almost all of this is learned, acquired ability that is not baked into human beings. I don't believe that people are born geniuses with math. I mean, I think that there are people that might latch on. There may be some differences in aptitude, but I think a lot of it just comes to being very interested in the subject and practicing a lot. And how do you get good at something? You practice as much as possible. And, somebody who had a computer at an early age and was able to practice learning programming and all that stuff early on, they have a whole lot of practice that you don't have. So they're probably way better at programming than you are. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't sit down and practice a whole lot and catch up with them. So don't limit yourself and don't think like, well, I'm never going to be a truly great programmer, because there are lots of instances of people who learned things later on in life and went on to become masters, like painting, sculpting, and even, mathematics and things like that. So I would encourage people to just dive in. Again, like I didn't start learning to code until I was 31. And a lot of people at the time, there were people in Quora saying, I'm 22, is it too old to learn to code?
I went serious on coding on 32. So that's it. Yeah. So that's it. It's also my case. I studied 3 years. It's been really hard years. And I had no socials, nothing. So I studied a lot, let's say. It's been quite hard. I watched some videos also, or freeCodeCamp, they helped me. I was not that social person. Let's say that. I call this year my social year. I started a YouTube channel on Twitter, but before I was not like that. But definitely you can do also if you are 30, 40, 50, 60. Yeah.
Yeah. My
Really.
biggest advice would be try to code at least a little every day so that you're kind of learning a little bit every day. Don't try to cram in like oh, I'm going to code all day all day for the next 6 months or something. That doesn't really work. That's one of the reasons why I often tell people like coding boot camps can be good, but I don't recommend like an intense boot camp where all you're doing is coding all day. I think try to keep your job and just learn to code in the evenings if you can. What I recommend instead is just like a lot of learning over a longer period of time. So trying to code every day. And the second thing that I'll say is try to hang out with other people who code. Hang out with other people who have gone through what you're going through and can support you and encourage you and you can learn from. That positive peer pressure can be such a boost, especially early on, because it's not fun for anybody right at the beginning. It's frustrating. And then gradually, after you start to get good at something, that's when it becomes fun. If you try to think about like some sport or some sort of musical instrument or something, when you first started playing it probably wasn't very fun. And you probably needed some teacher or somebody to like say, keep practicing, keep doing that, right? You needed extrinsic motivation. But once you got good at it, you have this intrinsic motivation. It feels good to be good at something and to do it well. And that will be a kind of a sustaining feedback loop. You'll get a critical mass and you'll be able to keep powering forward with that. So having that network of people who've accomplished what you want to accomplish, hanging out with those people, even if it's just, following them on Twitter and occasionally DMing them and stuff like that, or going to, once you've had a vaccine, going to tech nights and hanging out at hackerspaces. That is invaluable. And I recommend everybody do that. So yeah, I hope that's helpful advice.
Thank you. That's just perfect. Yeah, nothing more to add. Yeah, I don't know if you know that I've been a volleyball trainer for almost 20 years. So I've been a teacher for a lot of my life. Both of my parents are teachers. My mom is a math teacher. My father is a gymnastic teacher. So I come from this. I think by teaching, the studying, it's really, I don't know, it's something that really belongs to us, to learn new things every day, also teach to others. I really love this part. So it has been really a pleasure to have you here. What you have created, it's really incredible. Let's say that. Congratulations on that. I wish you really usually I just say good luck with your YouTube channel, good luck with learning Python. In your case, I'd say good luck for everything. It is a very big project. Yeah. So yes, and please, if freeCodeCamp has been really useful for you, please consider donating this. Also, maybe as Quincy said, maybe a little bit, but it's more like the mindset that if you had something from that, you can give back. So this is something that I'm about to say. Quincy has not forced to say me this, but I'm saying this anyway because I think that this is really the idea that if you get something, you need to give back always in one way or another one. So I think that if you can, this is really a good idea. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your kind words. And I just want to emphasize that, I'm a very small part of this community. I was the first person to start freeCodeCamp. In many ways, I often call myself just the first camper, but there are tens of thousands of people who've contributed to freeCodeCamp, both through donations and through code and through volunteerism. And I want to certainly acknowledge those people. So again, thank you to all those people for everything they've done.
Thank you. And I'll interview all of them, all the 10,000 people. I'll interview all of them one by one. Okay. Yeah, but you can suggest me someone. So maybe not 10,000, but maybe some of them they could be our guests. So maybe in the future, maybe not 10,000. Let's start with 10, 3 or 4. Maybe it's better. But thank you again, Quincy. You're really humble, but we need to credit you in some ways. So thank you again. Thank you also for being here. You're really so available. Thanks for your time, because I get your time from you instead of your daughter. So please go back to her now.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Francesco.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me stop.